everyone. Welcome to the Sherwood Shakeup. I'm Matt Weinglass, your host today, and boy, do we have a great episode planned for you this week. We have the team behind the Brain Savers Audiobook. That's our business audio theater production, which just launched actually last weekend, this last couple days. It's now on Audible. It's on every streaming platform, and it's an awesome production. It took a bunch of people to put together, and we figured, why not devote an entire show to the behind the scenes of making this awesome project with just such talented actors and crew and behind the scenes people. But we got some very cool guests coming on to talk about this, about what is business audio theater and the story of the Brain Savers. These are very cool stories. So we just kind of threw it all together, and we want you guys to kind of sit back, enjoy, and let's do this. Let's get into this. But first, I'm going to just check in really quick with our managing director of Sherwood Players, David Madwin, and let's see what's going on right now in Sherwood. Hey, David, how's it going?
Hey there, Matt. How you doing?
Very, very good. Man, this year started out very strong so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, we have been nonstop. It is. I usually, early January, things are pretty slow in the entertainment world, and we have been going nonstop with our release of the Brain Savers. You can see the link on the screen right now, just below us, right over there. You can check that out. It's also on any other major streaming platform. We had a wonderful launch party for that. We've got a bunch of production stuff coming up. I'm super excited about it. What do we have upcoming, Matt?
So yeah, actually, so we'll be on this show every Tuesday, and what's so awesome about checking in like this each week is that we literally have projects at every stage of development, production, and release coming up over the next couple months. So far, I mean, we just did our Spiff event. Obviously, that finished off the year very strong. So we have a ton of filmmakers that we've increased our network with, and we're ready to dive in and get ready for next year's Spiff. So that's coming down the line. But what's coming up soon is...
Wait, I just want to say really quick, go to spiff.live, check out all of our winners, watch their films. We had such an incredible lineup of films this year. We had such talented filmmakers, and we really made it international this year. We had people from, including Morocco, New Zealand, India. It was just a really amazing lineup, and I was really happy to get to give those films some light and some bring them out in the world and also show them.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
If you want to apply for next year,
we're going to be ready to go. Actually, we're going to be doing it earlier this year. We want to give filmmakers more time to submit and prep, and give us more time to look at more films, because there were such great films last year. We're going to actually open it up in March, so we'll be reminding you guys of that. Early March submissions will be open for our next year's festival, Spiff 2023. The other stuff we have real quickly, and then we'll get into the Brain Savers. We have our second season of Crash, the animated series, which will be premiering soon on our Roku network, our sister company
through Genre TV.
TV, yes.
About that. You can already watch season 1 on there or on YouTube as well if you search Crash the animated series.
Absolutely. We also have our feature film in the works. We're about to dive into pre-production on it soon. It's called Confessions of a Union Buster. But first, we will be premiering the sizzle reel for the development of the film, which we had a lot of people.
Matt? When do people get to see it?
Well, it's going to be premiering live on this show next Tuesday, actually. So you're going to have to tune in to see that. All these people came around the community together to help us put this thing together, and it's pretty badass, actually. I don't
want to give too much about it away, but there's a really beautiful part from the late great Ed Asner in it, who's an executive producer on the project based on his love and his passion for unions.
You literally just gave it away, David.
I'm so sorry. But definitely tune in for that. There's a lot more to it.
It's okay. You're right. There's also a lot more than that. But that's a great mention to that. And yeah, absolutely. Ed Asner has been an incredible part of our community, and we want to do him justice, actually, and keep his legacy alive. That's our idea.
All right,
So
well, Matt, I'm going to step off and do my behind the scenes work, but I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. Everyone did such amazing work on the Brain Savers. I did some pretty good work on the Brain Savers too. I did a couple voices in there.
you
Wondering
did.
what's been with you.
You helped us on the producing side, and you filled in, and that was what was needed. We had a ton of characters to voice, and David, you stepped up and did a bunch of them for us. A couple of them last minute, so very, very.
Well, one of them, I think we know the same word. In 3, 2, 1. Forget about it. All right, everyone, enjoy the show, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, David. So before we bring in our first guest, I want to tell you guys more about David. Actually has mentioned earlier that we had our launch party. It went very well. We had our executive producers and writers, Michael Houlihan and Bonnie Harvey, come down from Sonoma County and put this thing on here in Hollywood at an incredible location, downtown Hollywood. And we were on the rooftop bar. It was very awesome. And we got a lot of the cast and the crew together for that. And our other colleague, Dr. Colin McDonald, joined us on Zoom for that production or that event as well, which was awesome. And we are super excited to have all of them joining us today on today's show coming up soon. And this was from our launch party on Saturday at the Godfrey Hotel in Hollywood. Check this out.
Thank you guys for that. Thank you.
Starting our own show and doing the podcast and stuff and watching the two of you, how you work together and started from a wine to being best-selling New York Times authors to the business audio theater. It is so inspiring that it's
because we're starting our own
we're
thing,
doing it too, so we can hope.
So we need your blueprint.
Also, I just wanted to say, I got a little emotional sitting down there and watching everyone because I'm like, we are in a room of artists, creatives, talents, doctors, and it's just so amazing to have everyone in the room together to collaborate, from auditioning to casting to a table read to being in the studio recording to this moment now to a final project that is amazing to listen to. So can everyone just give everybody.
So Lizette and Danny helped host that event. And Lizette is a regular host on our show, the Sherwood Shakeup. And I believe she is here with us right now. Let's bring Lizette in to say hi to everyone.
Hi.
Hey, Lizette, you made it. Yay.
Sorry, tech problems.
That's okay. We are used to that, and we always plow through them. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. You and Danny, by the way, you did an excellent job hosting the event, and you've done a few of them for us now, and we're getting a little routine going. I'm kind of excited about it. You guys are good.
Yes, we did, and it was kind of last minute, right?
It was, but sometimes we gotta do things kind of one thing at a time, and sometimes we have to be spontaneous and make last minute decisions on stuff. But I think we're smart, and we're smart enough to go with the flow.
Yeah.
And we're creative enough to know how to improv through things. And just like right now, I think we have an incredible show today, and I'm glad you can be here with us today and help share this experience of the Brain Savers, which you've been part of. You've voiced some roles in this thing. You're part of this team, and that's just awesome to have you with us. So
yeah,
thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so funny because there were so many roles when Bonnie and Michael were like, "What roles did you play?" And I'm like, "Well, I know I had Jen Berg, but the waitress," and just like remembering them all, I'm like, "Oh my God, they were all fun." And there's just a lot of them. So, but it was so much fun.
Right now, let's introduce this project to people. Let's give them an idea of what business audio theater is about, and particularly the story of the Brain Savers. Let's play a clip right now. This is the opening scene of the Brain Savers.
Israel, 2002. The West Bank has become a war zone. Bombings and violence on all sides stretch the limits of hospitals, medical facilities, and first responders. Military ambulances must make painful choices, whether to dash closer to less equipped, small hospitals or travel farther to medical centers deeper into Israel for better care and life-saving equipment. For badly wounded patients, the wrong choice could mean death. And so often, their lives hinge on what happens in the first few minutes of care. A bomb blast has ripped through a small West Bank town. A military ambulance roars up to a small home, the front of the building reduced to rubble. An Israeli teenage boy is lying on the front steps. His frantic mother, Talia, runs up as 2 EMTs rush out from the ambulance.
Help him! Please help my son! The bomb was so close, his head is bleeding!
Eli Heyman, an Israeli military doctor with a strong jaw, receding hairline, and experience beyond his years, hustles out of the ambulance behind the EMTs towards the steps of the battered building. Talia approaches them.
I'm Dr. Eli Heyman. What's your name?
Talia, I'm his mother. That's Joseph.
Patient is a male in his late teens, appears in and out of consciousness. Dilation of one pupil.
Some loss of blood. No bleeding from the ears, no raccoon eyes. We need to get vitals and transport him to trauma care immediately.
Talia, we are going to take care of Joseph, but the first few minutes are crucial. We're bringing him to a hospital so we can see what is going on inside his head. You can come with us.
Mom, we have to go!
They hurriedly load Joseph into the ambulance and barely get the doors closed before the ambulance rushes off.
Joseph was just standing on the steps and then... Dr. Eli, what happened to my son?
We aren't certain yet. We need to look inside his head when we get to the hospital.
Do it now!
Talia, we can't examine his head here because we don't have the equipment. We need something called a CT scanner. It uses a computer to combine a series of x-rays to create pictures of Joseph's head so we can take a look inside.
You should have it here. Why don't you have one here?
I wish we did. You don't know how much I've thought about this. They're too big and too heavy. They can't fit in an ambulance, but we'll have one at the hospital.
Talia nods and holds Joseph's hand. The EMT keeps a watch on Joseph, who barely moves as the ambulance roars through the narrow streets towards the hospital, still miles away.
I just hope we can get there in time.
That's always fun. What a great start to the story to kind of grab people right away. With this style of storytelling, I guess, which is what we're doing. It's kind of innovative, don't you think, Lizette?
Absolutely. It's like, wow, I learned a bit about this project and, the medical field and all that stuff. And that scene right there was highly intense. I mean, you really feel like you're in the moment there. So it's nice to hear that.
Absolutely. And so I'll just say this for anybody listening to this for the first time, they've never heard an audiobook with all those sound effects and just characters and things and action. And maybe you have, but this is new because we're in a territory of business storytelling for, company branding. And we're going to get into that a little later in the show when we bring in our partners on the project. But I think what we need to start with is this is the thing that sticks out right away is the narration, because that's the one thing that all audiobooks have in common is narration. So that's always the foundation, no matter how much more is layered on top of that. That's different from project to project. We clearly have a ton of layers in ours, but let's just start from the beginning. The narration is done by Alamada Karatihy. She's our second one she's done for us. The first one was The Barefoot Spirit, but she's now narrated the Brain Savers as well. Yeah. Let's bring Alamada in and we can chat about doing this project together. Okay, welcome to the show, Alamada.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Lizette. Double trouble.
Oh my gosh, look at it.
Yeah.
Named
after her. So I have to say, listening to that opening scene is awesome. I mean, how cinematic can you get for an audiobook? Kudos, Matt. The direction is incredible. Because I remember narrating that opening scene and I was reading through it and it's very gripping and it Bonnie and Michael and Colin, they really started the book strong. It was, really intense to read. And I felt I did my best Diane Sawyer, but when I first heard it with the sound effects and the different actors' voices and the sirens and, it just, I didn't even recognize it. It's very powerful.
Well, no, it is. It's really shows an evolution, I think, of storytelling on this medium. And I wanted to ask you real quick, like, what was the difference for you narrating the Brain Savers versus the Barefoot Spirit?
Well, I think with the business audio theater, the Barefoot Spirit, it was so fun. It was so engaging. It was the first incarnation of the business audio theater model. And there was a lot of narration. There was a lot of exposition. There was, I think the chapter on distribution, it was all narration. I think the book was longer as well. It may have been maybe twice as long. Is that correct, Matt?
Wow.
Well, yeah, it was twice. So this one was a more consolidated story,
Right.
As far as the length of it. Yeah, this one, I guess this is 3 hours. I think Barefoot was 7 hours and a half. So I guess it would say almost double the length. But yeah, as far as the approach from the narration, or did you?
Right.
What was that?
I think. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
I'm like excited
Please.
when I heard that scene. I was like, oh, this is. You really knocked this book out of the park. I think when we heard the Barefoot Spirit, and I think Bonnie and Michael, they had written, and I forget the other writer on the Barefoot Spirit, but the book.
It was Rick Cushman. Yeah.
That?
Rick Cushman was the other writer. Yes.
It was so great. And I think the scenes that really, or the chapters that really stood out, had a lot of the character interactions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's just a fun, engaging way to, tell a story.
Yeah.
And so I think in the Brain Savers, I mean, the material, obviously, it's a little bit more, in so many ways, in some ways, I guess the stakes are even higher, because it's about, at its core, it's about this doctorpreneurs having an idea of a device that could possibly save lives, and pushing against all odds to, develop it from an idea, develop it to get the funding for it, to, actually design it, create it, and market it. So ultimately it can get in the hands of, the world market and save lives. So I think to keep the story gripping, from page to page, having the scenes with the actors was really the way to do it. So in the Brain Savers, it's much more, I guess, less narration, really.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was less work for you on as far as the load, because it was more of the actor's load. But you were certainly there with every performance as assistant director. You were there to help with that. So I mean, we definitely appreciate you being there to help get those performances from the actors, because they need the narrator to read off of, so they can be grounded and in the moment, ready to perform. So you definitely were doing more of that this time, I would say.
Well, it was so fun. I mean, you got amazing performances out of these actors. It was so fun to sit. I had a front row seat to all these actors coming in, and they came in, with their characters ready to go. I know they had done character work, but it was really exciting to see, because you would sort of direct them, and the performances would get nuanced or colored. And when there was the right take, you're like, that's the one. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading against them. It was a lot of fun.
I was going to ask you, did you enjoy that? Like being, like reading with them, different people, different characters coming in, and just,
Yeah, well, it was great, because I think it's better for actors. Actors love to act and engage. So it's better for an actor, I think, to read against someone than to just, be speaking their lines in a vacuum or something. And so, Matt had them reading against people, primarily me, I guess. for all of the takes and most of the takes. And I think it really made a big difference. Don't you, Lizette?
Yeah, I was going to say when I was in there the first, I guess the day I recorded my stuff, Danny had one before me and you were there. Oh, I got a little feedback there. And it was funny because I was like getting a little like, I want to do this right. And then you just made we laughed together and I was like, okay. And I got back into it and stuff like, so you made me feel calm and you know, made me laugh. And I'm like, oh, I got this. And it's always fun when you do that.
Well, the dialogue too, it's very funny. And I think Michael and Bonnie and Colin really like knocked it out of the park because I think, you know, when Bonnie and Michael and Rick wrote The Barefoot Spirit, I think they really, they came up with kind of this great, witty, kind of a fast-paced, enjoyable style. And they carried it over into The Brain Savers, which was very cool because, again, the topic, you know, you're talking about an intersection of medicine and business and technology and a lot of, you know, ideas that are, you know, could be a little hard to get your mind around. So then to put it in this story with all these colorful characters coming in and out and fun dialogue, it really makes for a fun ride.
So I would say the last thing we want to ask you here before we move forward, what advice would you give to other actors that are looking to get a narration job, you know, in the audiobook arena? What would you tell them as far as, you know, prepping for their audition or whatnot?
I mean, I think, you know, actors, it's basically you don't want to be saying anything in a bubble, right? Like if there's material, I think it's important to understand, you know, where the time, the place, what's going on. I think intention is so important, right? So in the same way that I think it made a real impact to have the actors reading against another actor, and then Matt, you directing them, and then ultimately to put the layer with the sound and everything, it like gives it an intention. I think it's the same with narration. I think it's important to study the material, study the book, study the story, do some research.
I was about to say, you mentioned reading The Barefoot Spirit like 3 times. Reading the book?
Oh yeah. And just like doing some research and studying it and really understanding, because obviously actors are professional. They can come into the room. A narrator who's good, you can come into the room and, you know, say a line. You can read lines on a page, but intention, you know, audience is smart, right? The audience can sense, or your listener can sense, if you really comprehend the material, if you understand it, if you care about it, you know, there's an authenticity that's there, I think.
No, that's very well said. And I think that we have to take that as actors. We got to take that responsibility no matter what role we're taking on, even if it's a narrator with no particular backstory and is just literally the voice of God. We still need to know what's the tone, what's the environment, what's, you know, look stuff up. I remember you would look every single word up and get a reference point, whatever it was. And you didn't wait till we got into the recording room. You did that on your own, and you did it before, by the way, before the audition. So, you know, there was nothing in the initial, hey, here, let me audition for this. There was nothing in there that was just skipped over. So I mean, we have to do that as actors for everything. We certainly have to do it for a narration audition as well. And
you know, luckily the material was so interesting for both. I mean, these are both real stories. The Brain Savers, The Barefoot Spirit, they're real stories about entrepreneurs who, you know, went up against all odds and beat out. And, you know, at the end of the day, they made their dreams, you know, come to fruition. So they're powerful stories. They're inspiring. They're true. They're a piece of history. You know, Dr. Colin McDonald with the Brain Savers ultimately is saving lives. Even right now, I'm sure there's a miniature CT scan in an ambulance somewhere saving a life, right, of a head injury victim. So I was just honored, honestly, to be a part of it. And I think actually with the Brain Savers, all the actors felt the same. I know you did, Matt. I know, Iggy, who scored it, was very moved by the story. And I think ultimately we were just honored to help bring such a pivotal piece of, medical history to life. And
Very good.
I think you really succeeded, Matt. Congratulations.
No.
Great job, Lizette.
Thank you. Will you continue to do narrations, Alameda, for other projects, or is that something, you're
I
pursuing?
love doing narration. It's just, honestly, it's something that I really enjoy doing it because, particularly I think if you can narrate a story that's a piece of history, it's really, really exciting.
Well said. Thanks, Alameda, for joining us.
Bye, Alameda.
Bye, guys.
All right. Take care. Yeah, no, that's very cool. Getting a little insight from our narrator.
She did a great job too. Great job.
I like, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic job. So we had such a solid team on this one, very talented. Of course, from the acting point of view, we can't we can't skip over the other kind of glue to this besides the narration. We had to have an actor that could be the voice of Dr. Colin McDonald and kind of carry the whole team. Gerard Marzilli ended up being our choice. Unanimously, we said, this is the guy, Gerard, who's been part of Sherwood, and he submitted an exceptional audition, and we all said he's our guy. And he did it for us. And Gerard, actually, he's on a theater tour right now, but I was able to catch up with him. Let's check that out. Gerard Marzilli on The Brain Savers. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to catch up with you because I know you're doing a theater tour right now, and we had a few minutes to catch up with you. So thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. I'm out. I'm in beautiful Palm Springs today. In a hotel room where we have a show tonight. I'm doing a show called Lucy Loves Desi. A funny thing happened on the way to the sitcom, and it's about the creation of the Lucille Ball, the I Love Lucy show.
Oh, well, that sounds amazing. What a great opportunity. Yet again, you're playing a real life person and having to go in as an actor and see how you can get that right. I'm assuming your experience with The Brain Savers maybe prepared you for this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Very similar situations, very similar types of guys. Colin is both a creative person who came up with an innovative idea, and it was able to had the business skills to market it out and make that idea a reality. And as was Jess Oppenheimer, who I'm playing in Lucy Loves Desi. So the one informed the other. Definitely the work that I did is Colin informed my performance as Jess Oppenheimer. Jess Oppenheimer was the head writer and producer of I Love Lucy and worked with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, who actually own this wonderful hotel. They used to own this wonderful hotel I'm staying in. They created something that had never been done before, much like Colin's basically invention of telemedicine, which revolutionized the medical industry and is something that we all use today. Lucy and Desi were, and Jess came up with the idea for syndication, running shows again, which had never been done before, running shows, doing clip shows when you didn't have enough time to have your stars there because of the time Lucille Ball was pregnant. So both men had very innovative ideas and basically said yes and all the time and came up with solutions to problems that everyone else said could not be done. Just like, what they were taught when Colin was having to deal with this idea that maybe people didn't accept right away of how are you gonna have a doctor with a good bedside manner at your side. How is that going to work out through telemedicine? That's never going to work. How are we going to even hook it up? How are we going to have the kind of, internet connectability to make that work? And it was the same thing with the I Love Lucy show. How are we going to, back then they didn't have shows were not shown on a nationwide network. they would get seen on a local network like in New York, and then they would be telecinied and then put out to the rest of the nation in a lower quality telecine print. But the Lucy show, by shooting on film, found a way where that show could be seen in the same high quality all over the country, just like Colin found a way to get care to patients all over the country as well, in different places. So very similar types of stories.
Awesome. And like, I know a lot of actors don't have this chance at all to do this. We dive into characters where we use more of our imagination, and even if they're historical characters, we don't really even have an opportunity to engage and interact with them. I remember when we first sat down and did the staged reading, or I guess it was a table read we did when we first got the script for the Brain Savers, and we all sat around together at the theater at the complex in Hollywood, and Dr. Colin McDonald was on Zoom watching us do it. Do you remember feeling that pressure, that extra pressure that oh my God, he's watching me, I better get this right? Or what was that experience like for you? Because by the way, you did an excellent job, as we all know, that day. So right away.
Huge pressure. I had never met him before. He has since become a Facebook friend of mine and is a wonderful gentleman. And a great guy, but yeah, it was very it was a little intimidating when you're playing somebody. I mean, I know I'd have opinions if someone played me, and he seemed to like it very much and was very happy with the cast, and I think just almost got a little emotional and choked up about it, because he really liked the work that we do and thought it was true to life. So that was flattering, but it was very nerve-wracking getting on, like, okay, he's here today, here we go, and just dive in. And like a lot of probably like one of my old acting teachers said, if you commit 110%, people will buy it, and so that's what I tried to do. I just tried to be this person to the best of my ability, and what I thought. I'm fortunate that I grew up in the New England area, that I even worked at Mass General around the time when Colin was there. And so I knew a little bit about how the people spoke and how it, just kind of the general feeling of somebody who might work in that field, in that place at that time. So that was, it was intimidating, but I just brought as much research as I possibly could in the amount of time that I had, and was able to do more research later. A similar thing happened with this project that I'm on right now, in that it was written by Greg Oppenheimer, who is the son of Jess Oppenheimer, who I am playing. So I'm playing his father, and he was there at the first table read. So that's like, wow. It's like, okay. And then I met him the other night at opening night in La Mirada, and he was just like, he came up to me, he's like, "Hi, Dad." It's like, okay, good. I'm glad you like it. So it was like two projects in the row where a real person who was intimately involved in the experience that I was portraying was there.
Great. Well, that's awesome to hear that you've gone through this now a second time, and I think it's an actor's dream to even be able to do this one time. So congrats to you on pulling both of them off, and I wish you well on the rest of your theater run with this play. I think, how can people check you out or check out this show, or where can they find you on this?
Well, depending on where they are, we are in Palm Springs tonight, but you can go to latheaterworks.org and search, or even just search Lucy Loves Desi, and it will come up in your Google search right away. You'll be able to go and buy tickets for the city that you are in, if we were near one of if the tour comes through your town. And but if you want to get tickets, buy them fast if you're a Lucy fan, because they are selling out. We were sold out our first night. We had people there dressed as Lucy. It's a fan base with a lot of love for the people and the work involved. So get them fast.
Awesome. Thanks, Gerard. Gerard Marzilli, star of Lucy Loves Desi, touring now, and the voice of Dr. Colin McDonald in The Brain Savers audiobook, now available on Audible. Thanks so much, Gerard, for being with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, Matt.
That was really fun. I'm glad Gerard had a chance to talk with us.
Mm-hmm. He's such a good actor. I've seen him do some Shakespeare stuff too in person. That's how we kind of knew each other before Sherwood Players and everything. And he's an amazing actor. I've seen
For
him
sure.
perform.
For sure. And I want the audience to have a chance to hear Gerard's performance. If they haven't already, go to Audible and download this whole thing. This is an incredible production. It's on Audible right now, The Brain Savers. And it's 3 hours. It goes by like that. That's what I'm hearing. People are like they're sitting down. They're like, oh, I'll just listen to an episode, and then they end up doing all six.
You can
right?
do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. So do that now. If you haven't had a chance to, because you're watching the show, obviously, we will be playing a clip of Gerard's performance as the Dr. Colin McDonald. But first, I think we need to bring the doctor in himself.
Oh wow!
Because he's here with us
There
on the show. Is there a doctor in the house? I think there might be. Please welcome to the show right now, the one and only Dr. Colin McDonald.
Hey, Colin. Hey, Lizette. Hey, Matt. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for having me, and soon having Bonnie and Michael get some screen time also.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to have them in as well. But what a great team we put together. Thank you for your incredible story. I mean, just let's get into this right now. Like, I mean, you invented this life-saving technology, this miniature CT scanner, and you had a whole team that you brought together to do this. Where did you get the idea that this story needed to be told, and why did you choose Business Audio Theater to tell the story?
Yeah, and so what I will do, because I think you all during this project, and Gerard captured it perfectly, I am mostly the reluctant prince of this band of happy warriors. And so whenever I hear someone say, you invented this, you did that, I always need to take a moment and say, well, it wasn't necessarily me. It was all about a team. But I'm blessed with an imagination that when confronted with an idea, instead of saying why it can't work, I ask why it might work if we do certain things. And that's what this story is all about. But at my core, guys, I'm a teacher. I love to teach. I love to teach patients. I love to teach medical students. I love to teach doctors. And I guess now I'm also teaching the world. And what really drove me to sort of embracing this project was when Michael and Bonnie contacted me, I thought about it and said, this will put me in a position to teach the world about what if. We need more examples of what if. Just like Gerard was talking about Jesse Oppenheimer, and what if we could cast this across the entire country, the Lucy Show all at once. That's one of those what if. This world needs more what if stories to encourage people to sort of step out of the why it can't and really move toward the what if.
Well said. That's what a great motivation to do this. And man, did we? I hope we did you justice, Colin, because I mean it took a team to do this. It took an army really we had to put together to make this thing make sense and keep it elevated to a level that it demanded. I mean, we wanted to do you justice, so I hope we did.
Yeah, and I you guys, everyone, they really did. And what was really important in this story was to get this notion of a team. You had me kind of driving the story forward, but we were bringing in so many valuable team members that without them, we could not have accomplished what we actually accomplished. And that they also, we also helped get ourselves, each of us, through our different insecurities at different times, get us past the thinking of why it can't work, and refocus on how will we get it to work. And the story does just a really great job of demonstrating that and really preaching those possibilities.
Colin, I know you said you were really happy with Gerard's performance and stuff. Were you happy with everyone else's performance?
Oh yeah, it was just terrific, and we had given some broad brushstrokes of, well, this person talks like this. I'll give you an example. We would say, well, Stu Bernstein, one of the sales operation guy, he talks like he's from New York. And Donna has this quiet, contemplative Colorado kind of meeker accent and so forth. And the actors, everyone just captured it the way it was. And it really sounded like, hey, that's what it sounded like 15, 16 years ago around a small table or around the living room. That's really what it sounded like. These people, through these actors, become real again. And that was just super cool.
That's awesome.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. You know what? So what we did is we pulled a clip. Now this one isn't with the visual. I want people to know that are watching. We do have 6 of the visual clips up on our YouTube channel right now. You guys can check all of them out, including the one we played earlier from the opening. And they're all up on our YouTube channel right now at Sherwood Players. But right now we have a bonus clip. This is an audio one because I want to watch your face, Colin, while we listen to this one, because this one is a scene with Colin and Donna. And this is always delicate, right? Because we in a good story, we have the action and the business side of things and the moving the story forward. But it's always nice when you have the main character checking in on the home front or having that personal thing away from the office, as they say. Right. And so we put this together. We had an amazing actress, Marissa, who came in and she had incredible chemistry with Gerard, and we knew that right away at the read through. And so here's a clip of the Colin and Donna scene from Business Audio Theater, The Brain Savers, and I'm keeping it on us because I want to watch your face while we listen. Here we go.
But your meeting.
I did it, Donna. I completed it.
What are you talking about?
SOC, it's running perfectly. All on its own. It's got momentum, savvy salespeople, an excellent reputation, and new technologies. All that's driving the business to even greater heights. They don't really need me to manage things anymore, Donna.
Are you saying you're going to step back from running SOC?
I think so. Yes! I think it's time for me to move from the screen side and return to the bedside. I've achieved what I set out to do. Prove the viability and scalability of enterprise telemedicine.
This calls for a celebration indeed.
I mean, I'll still do emergency neuro video consults, of course.
Of course. I'll see you soon, dear. You did it.
We did it.
Colin and Donna celebrated that night as if they were in their 20s again. A new spark had been lit in their relationship. Throughout all the hurdles, the trials and tribulations, the wear and tear that can happen to any marriage, work can feel like a first and sometimes only priority for so much of the time. But in a partnership built on trust, faith, and a shared idea that a chance at actually changing the world might in fact exist, they couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense that it was all worth it. As an American cultural anthropologist once said,
"Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Margaret Mead.
That is, it is that scene just registers so deep in my heart and just brings up so many emotions and really, I think, helps people thinking about business to also consider what is going to happen outside the four walls of the office. Your life is going to go on, and you actually have to let that part of your life drive efficiently. And I remember when we actually got to that point where we decided, and we had actually been talking about it for a couple years, about me beginning to be a little bit impatient, restless in terms of should I continue down the SOC pathway? I kind of miss coming back to the bedside. And Donna reminded me along the way, early on, when we first came up with this idea, Donna asked a really important question, like, when is your exit point from this adventure? And I said, well, what I really want to do with telemedicine is prove that it is useful. And then the second thing I want to do is prove that it is scalable. And when she reminded me several years later, when I finally realized we had proved it was useful on about day one, and we had proved it was scalable at about day hospital 100, we're on hospital 400 at this particular point, that we had already gone past the finish lines that I had said. And she was really patiently waiting for me to accept that those finish lines were past us, and it was okay to sort of let this thing run on its own. And that was like super exciting. It was validating that, hey, we stayed in this with the ideas that we wanted to accomplish. Those ideas are accomplished. It's time to feel good about it and move on to wherever life is going to take it. And that was very cool.
Well, that's, you know what, that you talk about that moment, Colin, and as we were producing it, and again, a shout out to Gerard Marzilli, Marissa Petrolo, and then we had Alamada narrating, and our sound designer, Iggy, who wrote an incredible score, and we heard that in the background. So the whole thing came together, and I knew while we were putting that together in post, and we put all those little pieces, I knew something special was happening there, because you have the business story, you have this engagement with people to understand the technology, understand the journey you went on, Colin. But what you have in that moment is you have something that transcends this story of this medical device and this accomplishment and this entrepreneur success. You have a story about life, about what we all, no matter what industry we're in, right? So now we're in this whole other realm of we all have to deal with this. And how do you communicate in your private life with your partner? How do you balance everything? And I think we tapped into something that is extremely relatable to a lot of people.
Yep. And I think it's also, that's exactly true, Matt. And I think it reminded me of where our children kind of fit into the background, because at times I would have my home office and maybe I would have to do a telemedicine call, and I would have to close the door to my home office, and Donna would have to say, hey, let's settle down a little bit. Dad's on a telemedicine call. And none of their friends, none of our friends really got what we were doing, because it was kind of foreign. But you had this family that was kind of living this new technology, this pioneering idea. And Donna did a super job of keeping things on the level. Like, yeah, Dad's kind of crazy. He has kind of these weird visions sometimes, but we'll keep him whole at the end of the day.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'll have to say this. I think, Lizette, you think it's time we check in and bring in our team leaders of Business Audio Theater?
Yeah, are you talking about Michael and Bonnie?
I think I might be talking about Michael and Bonnie.
Another powerful couple, another Colin and Donna.
Right.
a power couple indeed. Let's you know what? Let's just bring them in. Welcome to the show, Michael Houlihan and Bonnie Harvey, creator of Business Audio Theater.
Hey, hi.
Hey guys.
Hi, folks.
All right.
This has really been great. We've been here since the beginning of your Zoom meeting, and it's been so interesting listening to everyone speak about their parts and how they felt about it. And it's a very exciting project, and we're very proud of how it's all turned out. And yes, it took a team. It took a big team to make that happen.
Very good. Very good. It's so cool to have you guys all together like this.
It's like we just had the wrap party. Well, not the wrap party. The party, the lunch party.
Yeah,
great. Like, this is amazing. It's like we just saw each other.
That's right.
Again.
So cool. Well, listen, we have a bunch of questions for you, but let's just start with the beginning. I mean, why, Michael and Bonnie, why did you choose our team, the Sherwood Players production team, to do Business Audio Theater with you?
Well, as was brought out earlier in this show, we're doing something new and different. We're not just telling a story, and we're not just communicating business principles. What we're doing is we're communicating business principles through a story. And you have to have a particular director and a particular type of actors and coaches to really bring that off. Now, early on, there was a lot of talk from Alamada about intention.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most difficult thing to get in the entertainment industry, is to get actors and actresses that can speak with authority and attention, because that's the real vehicle that carries across the message of the business principle. If you're going to do this, here's the outcome, right? If you do it like this, here's the outcome. And so, we're living in a world where people, especially, stakeholders, buyers, suppliers, employees, they're being bombarded with information left and right. They're watching videos, they're being told to read things. They've got punch points. They're going to classes and whatnot and workshops. But we thought, let's just give it to them on their own time in a mobile format, on-demand mobile, which is the old earbuds. When they can choose to listen to it on their own, they'll be more likely to be open-minded if we do it that way. And also, they can listen to it. And one of the things that's really interesting about listening to a story is that you have to participate in order to see the whole scene. Now, in video, the scene, the playwriter writes out the scene. Every detail's in the scene. But the details are not in an audio scene. If John comes in and picks up the chair comes from the listener's mind. And the color of John's suit comes from the listener's mind. So what you see here is the listener now is engaging in the story by participating. And that's why we remember stories that are told to us more than stories that are shown to us in video. And it's because we participated. If you're not paying attention, it'll get away from you. So you have to pay attention. But we chose you guys because we really knew that you got that. When you did the Barefoot Spirit, we went through this groundbreaking, not just doing the Barefoot Spirit, but doing this kind of thing for the first time and really knocking out these details.
This kind of thing was creating a business book in audio form that used stories to tell the business principles of the founders. And that's what was really unique. It was so unique that we took one of the finalists for the Audio Awards for Best Business Audio Book in 2020 with the Barefoot Spirit. And I'm really looking forward to the point where we can submit the brain savers to the Audio Awards judges, see what they have to say about that.
And what was so interesting
Yeah.
was so interesting. Here we are in New York, right? And you know, we're under the Queensboro Bridge at this beautiful venue, and they got the red carpet out and everything. And the judge says, you know, Michael and Bonnie, for you guys to even be up there as a finalist is a miracle, because
We were
you're
self-published.
not writing a big check to our organization. And this organization is really here to give awards to the publications of the big boys, right? So she said, we had never heard a story performed like this before.
A business story.
A business story.
Great. Yeah. No, it's true. I don't think any of us had even participated in anything like this before. So I think for us, it was actually a learning experience from start to finish throughout the process of the Barefoot Spirit. And we're learning as we go through this one. I mean, we've come up with so many new ideas through this process of what the potential of business audio theater can be as we move ahead, because there's so many more stories we can tell. Correct?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing that we did that was very different with the Brain Savers that we didn't do with the Barefoot Spirit. The Barefoot Spirit was written as a paperback.
Mm-hmm.
It was not written as an audiobook. And then we changed it into an audiobook with a lot of work and effort on your part, Matt. Thank you very much. And now we took the story from Colin and we put it directly into a script for an audiobook. And that made all the difference in the world. Talking with Alamada, she said there was a lot of dialogue with the Barefoot Spirit. Indeed, there was. And for an audiobook that is being narrated, has a narrator that helps you get through the story and through the different scenes, it was so much easier to do and such a better way of doing it, to go directly from the author, Dr. Colin McDonald, into a script format for an audiobook. And so that format was a huge difference that made all the difference in the world when it came to the final production and listening to how it was done, because we have so many characters and more story being told.
Absolutely.
In fact, this is really interesting. It is so new. What we're doing is so new that Audible, that sells 80% of the audiobooks, this is a powerful company, right? They can't imagine a book, an audio play that is performed directly from the author. They can't. It has to go through a paper book. So much so that they actually denied our application at first because they said, well, you don't have a paper book. And we said, no, we don't have a paper book. We went straight to audio, and they said, well, no, that's impossible. There has to be a paper book. So,
or an ebook. So we took the script and put it in an ebook.
So we have a script and an ebook. You can read the script and follow along, and then you're highly recommended to download the audiobook. But, but it's interesting, you know, just like in Dr. McDonald's story, you know, he's working with technologies that were not really addressing the needs that he had, and he had to scotch tape a lot of stuff together to make it work. We're doing the same thing. We're doing workarounds to get through Audible, which is really interesting. So we know that the future is on our side when we see things like that.
And speaking of future, Michael and Bonnie, now that you've done 2 productions, Barefoot Spirit audiobook, Brain Savers, what do you think the future is going to be with business audio theater and Sherwood Players production, you know, for the future? What do you think of that?
Business audio theater was designed to take a founder's story and business principles and put it in story form and give it to all people interested in his or her company. It is for retaining employees. It's for attracting future employees. It's for giving employees the feeling that they can contribute, that Their job is not in a cubicle, but it is wider than that. And it involves the company's goals, the principles of the founder. And in learning that, they support the business better, and they know that they have more to contribute. So it's really retention for companies, and involving the employees, but not just the employees. It's also the buyers, it's the suppliers, it's anybody that touches or uses their product or service. So we see it as being very attractive to companies whose owner doesn't have the time or energy to tell every new employee his or her story and business principles. Because it's so easy for employees to go off in their own direction using whatever they've learned in their history to do their job, which may not be according to what the owner has in mind. So we see a lot of companies out here that would benefit by having their founders tell their stories in this format, what we call business audio theater.
That's awesome.
And of course, we're going to work with Matt Weinglass and the Sherwood Players Productions, because you guys have done such an excellent job.
Woo! And like you said too, it's different companies too, right? You did the telemedicine with Colin. It's your project, Barefoot Spirit Wine. You're opening up to different companies, different businesses, right?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Books and all.
Yeah, you know, the thing about there's not 100 business principles. Bonnie and I have been teaching business for 20 years. And we've spoken at 60 schools around the world that teach entrepreneurship. But there's not 100 business principles. There are only 20 or 30 at the most. And they apply in every vertical, in every type of business. We all have the same problems. All founders face the same problems, whether it's not enough money, or they've got to prove the concept, or how they're going to find the right people on their team, or how they're going to articulate what it is that they're selling. These are common business problems. And what we wanted to do, and what Sherwood Players did so well, is it makes the listener identify with the founder and pull for the founder to get through these hurdles and challenges, because they start to say, you know what, I can identify with this founder. I see the principles that are driving this founder, and I see what he's up against, or her, and I want to see her win the day. Once that happens, now you have loyalty, now you have engagement, now you have the kind of person that you really want to work with or for. And so that's our idea, is that business audio theater is a tool to help businesses attract, engage, and retain their stockholders.
Very cool. I'm actually sold. I'm in. So we can go to if anyone's interested in watching and they have a recommendation of an entrepreneur, a business owner that wants to tell their story. It's businessaudiotheater.com, right? That's where they go.
That's where you go.
Give it to them. There it is, businessaudiotheater.com, and they can contact Michael and Bonnie directly and get moving on telling their story. And we can do it from start to finish, literally from conception to putting it out in the world, which we just did with the Brain Savers. I'm going to remind people that they can go right now on Audible and get the Brain Savers. They can go to, just type in Audible. This is the actual link. I know you can't click right on there, but just remember it's Audible and the Brain Savers, and you get it. You can get it right now and check out the entire story of Dr. Colin McDonald.
And they can also just go to Matt, they can just go to the app and put in Brain Savers, and it'll pop up. The first thing pops up is that too.
The Brain Savers, exactly. Yeah.
Wow, technology is.
And I just want to add, as a matter of credibility, the first 5 people who downloaded it and listened to it gave it 5 stars.
Wow, that's very good. That's a great start. Well, I mean, that's a great sign right away that they're immediately responding to this. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Before we go, I actually would like to play one more clip, because I think this is important. I want people to hear this, because we just touched on this for a little bit earlier, but I wanted to give recognition to our sound engineer, Iggy, who wrote an incredible sound track, but specifically a theme song for the story. When we had other musicians, we actually had my brother, Jeremy Weinglass, who's a professional musician. He contributed music as well. So we have a whole amazing original soundtrack for this thing, and you'll hear it if you get it on Audible. You'll hear the whole thing. And I want to say this too. We will be doing an episode on music in the industry, and we're going to have my brother Jeremy and Iggy on that episode in a few weeks. So we're going to focus on that. So we'll give him a chance to shine. But right now, let's play a clip. This is the final clip. I'm going to get to it right now. Give me 1 second here. I think this is very cool to show this, because you guys are going to be able to kind of hear, if you're hearing this for the first time, kind of hear where this thing is leading. It's not like we're giving away anything, because we know where this leads. This leads to a successful invention that actually changed the industry. That's what this thing did. That's what the Brain Savers team was able to do. So we're not giving this away, but I want you guys to hear this as Iggy's soundtrack comes in at the end on that final walk down the hallway, where Gerard as Colin is explaining the next stage of the Brain Savers and what's coming next. Okay, here we go.
I'm sorry, I have to run. A telemed call for what looks like a patient in South Virginia, about 150 miles from here. Jog with me?
Yes.
Have I been helpful, or did I just drone on for an hour boring you?
No, you've been incredible. I'm just so happy I get to do my rotation here with you. But I do have one more question.
Shoot.
What's next for you? What's in your future? Professionally, I mean.
Oh. Well, I'm always looking for the next opportunity. Usually to make things more efficient. I just keep listening to what the world is telling me.
Janine's mind was spinning, thinking of all the possibilities for a future as a doctorpreneur.
Coming through! Watch those toes!
Maybe it helps to think of it like this. The latest technology and all the machines we use now are just tools in the service of care, helping to repair the complex machine that is the human body should always be our primary concern. Speed is the challenge in treating stroke patients, as you know, and you must get to them quickly to ensure the best outcome. My team of brain savers simply realized that we could bring in the right specialists with the right experience at the most critical moment if we embrace technology to help us do that. Technology enables us to appear on a screen at bedside, when and where we are needed. But the screen by itself does not have empathy. It's not making life or death decisions. It's not comforting patients and their families. We do that. We are the ones who create this caring screen. This is Dr. McDonald? Yes, I'm looking at the CT scans right now.
Oh, that just really moves me. It brings tears to my eyes each time I hear it. And it's not just the voice of Gerard playing Colin, but it is the music and the buildup behind it. Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful soundtrack that goes with it.
Very cool. I see you're smiling, Colin.
Yeah, no, it was. I'm really glad we outro with that, Matt. We introed with capturing the audience with the sounds of chaos in the West Bank not so long ago, and we outro into what the world looks like today in medicine, and that despite all this technology, there's still the human factor that can't be forgotten. And I think that's the challenge, is never losing the human factor, allowing the technology to improve the human factor.
Well said. Well said.
There's one more thing that I wanted to point out. Colin's business that he co-founded with his team was called Specialists on Call. And we've mentioned SOC a couple times, but we haven't really said what it does. So Colin, I think I'd like to ask you if you could explain what Specialists on Call actually did that was different and unique, and how it was a pioneer in its time in 2005.
Yeah, so we think about the world, even the world today, there's about 5,000, maybe 5,500 emergency departments in the United States. And if you happen to be in nearly all of those emergency departments and they don't have telemedicine capability, you happen to be in exactly the wrong emergency department, because specialists like me are really hard to come by. We're concentrated for the most part in really big trauma centers, really big stroke centers. And so what Specialists on Call did was we understood that problem, and what we wanted to do was to distribute our expertise where our expertise wasn't physically available. And the way we did that was through video conferencing. And it seems like such a simple idea now, but back then, people just couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that you would have some doctor from the Mass General showing up in some emergency room in Kansas, 500, 300 miles from the closest academic center, and changing people's lives. And we managed to validate that that notion was possible. And from that, especially as we saw during the pandemic, everyone thinks about telemedicine, and they accept that it's been here forever, but it wasn't so long ago that it was a completely alien, novel idea. And this story, The Brain Savers, really does a great job of reminding people that technology has value when it's applied to real life problems like we applied them to.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's so good to have you guys on with us. I mean, seriously, thanks for taking the time out of your busy days to come on and chat about the Brain Savers and business audio theater. And it's such a pleasure and honor to work with you guys, both, Dr. Colin McDonald and Michael and Bonnie. Thank you guys so much.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Our pleasure working with you, Matt.
You got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you guys did such a great job. We're indebted to all of you guys at Sherwood.
No, it takes a team. It takes a team, Colin, like you said.
That's
It takes
right.
a team. Okay.
Good night, guys.
Okay.
Thank you for having us in your project too, guys. All the actors. I'm speaking on behalf of all of them too.
Yes.
It's certainly been our pleasure and delight.
Thank you. Okay,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye. Wow, what a great opportunity. Sit down with these guys and really go through the process. I think, Lizette, I think you would agree that it's the thoughtfulness and the close attention to detail and the precision that gives us these products that we can be proud of, that we're not just skimming through. And I can tell you, working with Michael and Bonnie, as you know, we don't skim through anything. We get it. We try and get everything right,
And I learned throughout each project working with them. I learned more and more with Colin's project, their project. You learn about the products too, telemedicine, the barefoot wine. You learn about all these things, how they come together. A lot of people who start businesses, they go through stuff and they don't know, but hearing these stories, listening to these audiobooks will probably help them, visualize their dreams. So, and to stick with it, because it's tough. It's tough for any business owner in the beginning. And then once you establish yourself and you learn and you go through these roller coaster rides, you get through it and you have success. So, that's what I think these books will help with that. So
absolutely. Thanks again, Lizette. You're always a pleasure to have on our show. I know you're running around doing your own stuff. I want to make sure people know where to check you out on. You have a new podcast too. Is that right?
Yes. Our podcast is called the DL Download Show with Danny McDermott and myself, Lizette Santiago. We are launching our website soon where we'll have merchandising and all this stuff. And when it's ready, we'll put it out there. For now, we have our Instagram, Down LOW Show, Download Show, 3 words.
There we go. Go to Download Show on Instagram and check out Lizette and Danny's new podcast. We're excited about, you guys have great chemistry and everything together. And I want people they can check out some of the stuff you've done for us. And we're going to be uploading more material from our events. We got so much cool content coming up, guys. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you hit like and subscribe on this one. And check out some of the videos from some of the recent events. Lizette and Danny have been fantastic. And we have more content coming soon.
And can I say too, we are, booking guests and stuff. We're setting a calendar to have different guests because we always bring in 2 guests usually on our live stream shows. I'll bring in a guest and they're in different, he'll probably mostly bring comedians, Danny, but I'll bring in someone in the business or someone who owns a business. Think different. We want 2 guests from each episode, for each episode, to have 2 different walks of life and put them in a room together and just, tell their story and tell how they did, what they do, and promote themselves during our show. So that's artists helping artists is always what I feel.
Beautiful. Well said. And we are aligned on that, Lizette. And we'll just keep setting a good example, inspiring others and being inspired by each other as we continue to move through this crazy industry that we find ourselves in, and this crazy time we find ourselves in.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Lizette, thanks for being on with us.
Of course.
And,
thanks for having me as always.
absolutely. And we'll check in with you next time at the next show or whatever the next occasion might be. Thanks, Lizette. And we'll check in with you again next time.
Thanks, Matt.
Take care. Okay.
Bye.
All right. That concludes our episode this week of the Sherwood Shakeup. Follow us on all socials. It's at Sherwood Players. That's our YouTube as well now. So just go to Sherwood Players on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all of them. And you can click to get updates when we have new content come in, including next week's show. That's next Tuesday, 3 p.m. right here on the Sherwood Shakeup. In the meantime, you can also go to sherwoodplayers.com and look at some of the stuff we have going on in the community, classes, workshops, live events, projects, not just business audio theater, but we have animation, documentaries, and a whole bunch of other stuff happening. 2023 has started out as a great year so far, and we look forward to what's coming next. And we welcome you into our community so you can sign up for our email list and you'll be on our blast and you'll be first to hear about any and all happenings, opportunities to get involved, as any type of artist is welcome into our community, as long as you share our values of putting team first, having courage in our storytelling, and being brave, and working your butts off to get the best product you can possibly achieve in that moment. And so we are about strong vision, power in numbers, power to the people, Sherwood Players, character driven. That's it. Remember those words, and we'll see you back here next time on the Sherwood Shakeup. Till then, guys, take care.